Welcome to the Two Money Guys podcast. I am the middle-aged money man, Robert Rio, along with your money geek, Michael Dinich, and John with the beard. We have an incredible show for you this week. We are sitting down with Dave Hanley, the founder of Tomorrow. We are going to discuss wills, trusts, and everything to prepare for the unexpected. It's an incredible interview, and we're going to get into that. But first, let's roll that intro. I would like to thank our sponsor, JRC Insurance Group. JRC works with over 50 top-rated insurance companies to match their clients with the most affordable life insurance options available. They are working harder than anyone to get you the coverage you need and deserve for the price that suits your budget. Call 866-790-6494 or visit jrcinsurancegroup.com for your free, no-obligation quote. Again, call 866-790-6494 or visit jrcinsurancegroup.com for your free, no-obligation quote.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Two Money Guys. This is John with the beard here with your money geek, and we're joined by Dave Hanley today. So Dave Hanley is the founder of Tomorrow. I want to mention one of the top places in Seattle to work, but also they have an app and a service that they offer that will allow you to create a legal will for free. Because like most of us, and I know including myself, I have not created my will yet because I think I'm going to live forever. So Dave, I'm not going to say tell me why I'm not going to live forever, but welcome to the show. First off.
Good to be here.
Glad to have you here. So give me some good information about Tomorrow. So not the period of time, but the actual company that you are founder of. Let us know some information about Tomorrow.
Well, you know, we are now actually the registered trademark holder of Tomorrow. So
oh my God,
we're owning more and more of that. But
I love it.
But yeah, so Tomorrow is, it's a company that we are focused on helping families achieve financial strength and freedom. And we do that through an app, which you can download for free, for Android, iOS. And you download the app and, there's lots of things you can do, but one is that you can make a legal will completely for free in a very visual, social, easy to understand way. You make it together with a spouse or significant other. You add your kids, you learn about everything that's in a will. And about 5 minutes later, you have a legal will, legal in every state, that you can then print and sign and make legal.
Yeah. And that's great. Because there's so many families out there that kind of ignore this step of planning. Like everyone likes to talk about the markets and everyone likes to talk about, investing, but no one ever really wants to talk about death. I think a lot of families kind of think like if they talk about it, it'll happen. So they don't want to talk about it. So it's awesome that you're providing this resource to people where they can just go on, convenience of an app and, do a will at no cost.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, look, people avoid this for all sorts of reasons, but when we make it as easy as it is to do, it really can help you do. Again, you take 5 minutes and don't think about like, well, when I die, who's going to get my, my coffee mug collection? It's really more about if you're one of the 50 parents, if you're a parent, one of the 50 million kids in America that don't have a guardianship plan in place, like this is just a super responsible thing to do. Because if you don't do this, if you don't take 5 minutes right now and make your will, if something unthinkable, very unlikely, but if it happens, the state is going to pick out who watches your kids, and you're not going to have any of your wishes there at the table. So whoever the loudest relative is, whether or not they share your personal, philosophical, political, or religious views, the one who shows up and makes a case could be the one who raises your child.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, and it's so important to make sure you have those conservatorship, or guardianship, I should say, I misspoke, guardianship documents in place, because you don't want to go through, have children have to go through that kind of orphans court or go through probate, or where family members can kind of contest the wishes and and maybe end up inadvertently becoming guardian of your children.
Yeah. So I think in general, while there is a way for money to get distributed to family members, it's a little more complicated if there's no will. It can become very expensive. By just taking the time to have any plan in place is important. And one of the reasons people don't do it is it's like, well, like, we're married now and we're going to have a kid soon. And then you have that kid. And so you're waiting, you're delaying. And then like, oh, maybe we're going to have another kid. Maybe when we're all done, then maybe when we buy that final house, we will. And you spend all this time delaying and not having a plan in place when your family's super vulnerable. So instead, actually, one of the things you can do, and tomorrow is always update your will so that if you add a kid or if you're in a relationship with someone and you turn them from being a girlfriend to a fiance to a wife, that you want to include some of them somehow in your will, you can just add, remove, and change people's roles, very, very easily.
Yeah, and that's important too, because I think a lot of people maybe they don't know who they want to be the guardian, or maybe they're not 100% sure what they want to do, and so they're worried. Well, if I put somebody down now, and if I have to go to the attorney and pay $300 to do a will, and then I figure out what I really want 6 months from now or a year from now, then I got to go back and pay another couple $100 to redo the whole document. So people kind of procrastinate. So I like with this app, you can do something now. It might not be perfect. It might not be what you ultimately end up deciding, but having something in place now is better than having nothing, because you don't want just anybody being able to come in and have a say in who's taking care of your children, who's distributing your assets, who's managing everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in my own case, right, I have two high schoolers. And when they were younger, it was very important for me. They should be with a family member. And then that decision actually changed when basically their mom's younger sister grew up, got older, had kids, they were more culturally aligned with us. And so we flipped to her. Whereas when we first had kids, I think she was 20 years old. And now that I have high schoolers, the most important thing that they need is actually to stay put with their friends, not get uprooted and move out of state with family. And so we've been able to make those changes and incorporate them into the will so that they can have what they need and meet their needs without, again, having to I don't know where you're getting a $300 will. The national average is $600, and I don't know where you get that, because in Seattle it's double that.
I live in rural PA, so everything's a little less money out here. But if you want to go with $600, nice. we'll go with $600. That's certainly about right.
That's nice. So again, these are the principles of just things like, how do you come up with these ideas? Well, cause you live them. And I paid $3,000 to get my first will and trust done. And it was a lot of money because I didn't have a lot of money at that moment, but I wanted to have everything in place. And it was mostly backed up by a life insurance policy that would take care of my kids. Then wanted to make a quick change. And I call up the attorney to find out not only has he left the firm, but he's actually moved to another state and no longer practices in the state of Washington. So I have to go find another attorney who's willing to edit his documents for me. And so I finally gave up.
Yeah, most of those attorneys won't do that. They won't edit somebody else's work. Or
they're all in love with their own language.
Yeah, that's right.
Sounds about right.
So that's great. So we talked about one of the mistakes that a lot of young families make is they don't have a will. They don't have a guardian in place. But one of the other things you also help people with is, right, you help them with insurance.
We do. So one of the things that we found was, if you don't have a will yet, you likely don't have any insurance, any life insurance, other than maybe that $50,000 policy you get through the office, through work. And so most people are grossly underinsured. So that's one thing, is like, well, if you're missing one, you're often missing the other. Basically, that number is about 80%. So don't feel bad, but time to take care of it. The second part is, once you create a will, once we have your information that goes in your will, we've actually completed about half the information that goes into a life insurance application. So your name, your address, who are your beneficiaries going to be, and things of that nature. And then we use that to fill it in. And then we're just asking you, health and lifestyle questions to complete the application. And so applying for life insurance inside Tomorrow just takes a few minutes as well once you do your will.
Oh, that's really smart. I like that. And you had mentioned that you're looking at, the app's a great app. It's really convenient to use. And you said you're looking at expanding that and expanding some of the services that will be offered in the app.
It is. So right now, the main things that you do inside Tomorrow is that you can create a legal will for free. You can create a legal trust, and we can talk about why you'd want to have a trust. You can buy life insurance, and you can track your net worth. And those are the main components. Now there's lots of features inside of that. Like part of the will is you take your phone around your house, you take pictures of things that you'd like to add to your will. You add them, you decide who gets what, and then that gets added to your will. So there's lots of interesting features inside of there. But, when it comes to the core things that you need, will, trust, life insurance, and making sure that you're tracking your net worth are all important things and things you do inside the app.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So let's talk about the trust. So you can create a trust inside of the app?
It is. Only 5% of Americans have a trust. And I think this is a total mistake. I think the misnomer is that trusts are only for the wealthy, and that you need to have lots of money to do that. But really, let me tell you how a will works, and then let me tell you how a trust works. So if you have a will in place and you pass away, then your money just gets handed off. It's sort of a clearinghouse, which is just like, okay, this money goes to my kids, split 50-50. And that, even if your kids are 18 or if they're like 16, maybe it's going to be held back, but all the money gets dumped onto them when they're 16. And if you've done the responsible thing and you have enough savings or life insurance to be able to fund their college education, no one's going to be there helping them manage that money for them and making sure that it gets spent appropriately and that they launch themselves. Now, a trust is like this living corporation, if you will, that just gets created later. Just think of it like a company or something. Basically, there's this trustee who's someone who you trust to act on behalf of your kids, and they have a responsibility. They decided to do that. And then, there's this money. Maybe you buy, a $500,000 policy, which, by the way, if you're 30, typically costs you about less than $30 a month. You have this money. It's going to be used to make sure your kids are taken care of, that they graduate from school, healthcare, education, daily support, whatever's needed. And then the funds are there to help them go to college, and that you pay the money directly or you give them the money to be able to do that. And that's what a trust does. And that sounds like something that every family should have, especially if you back it up with enough life insurance. Everyone should have that. And primarily trusts are just used by the very wealthy, and they're just used by older people. And I think that that's completely upside down.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. When I was in the National Guard, I spent a brief period of time in a JAG unit. And we would actually provide, the military, the Army would actually provide trust for people on active duty. And, most of those people didn't have a whole lot in the way of assets. Most of them didn't even really own any real estate or anything. But they were finding it was like really important to avoid probate, because the spouses were getting taken advantage of by scammers. Right? People would go and search the public records and see, hey, Sergeant, so-and-so passed away. They had a spouse. And then they'd reach out to them and say, hey, I know your husband, or I knew your wife, and we made an agreement that we would, help each other out if anything would happen. And, maybe there was some sleazy financial salesperson and just sold some, lousy products, or maybe talked them out of some money or different scams. So, I think that everyone thinks that trusts are, mostly just for people with big net worths, but really anyone who values privacy and doesn't want, their life's work to become part of public record could benefit from a trust.
Absolutely. No, I think it's a really important part. So trusts are completely private. They live outside of the legal record. A will, or if you have no will, all of those decisions get filed with the state and are part of public record. The other one's portability. So what I didn't know when I first started down this path is that every single state has its own estate planning laws, and you should have a will that's in accordance with the laws of your state. But a trust is more universal, and it actually will travel with you.
So, and it has someone reviewed this. So the trust that you provide within the app, has someone gone around and looked and, compared the language and make sure that it is portable in all 50 states?
Yep. So we developed it with our own in-house attorney who spent 15 years working at top law firms in New York City, working on high net worth trusts and estates. We then built a network of 53 attorneys who reviewed the core documents and then assured that they were in compliance with the laws of all states. And all that's been incorporated into the documents that you get. It was a very significant undertaking, but now something that we give away for free.
Oh, that's really awesome. And that's great because, a trust can cost anywhere between, really, $2,000 and, $5,000 or even on up. I've seen them as high as, $10,000, $15,000, or even some banks and such charge a percentage of assets to set up the trust.
That's right. So you get the trust inside the Tomorrow app for $40.
That's awesome. And
that's a great price.
It really is. What type of assistance or do you provide, or is there a referral network? How do you handle the funding of the trust as far as retitling property, notifying financial institutions about the trust?
Yep. So you can go to the Tomorrow website and you can see a post. Often if you Google different things, you'll find it as well. It's the definitive guide to funding a trust. And it explains every step that you need to go to fund your trust. And it actually includes a couple hundred forms from the top financial institutions in the US. So about 250 financial institutions that help you transfer a life insurance policy, a 401k, and transfer into the trust, but you can have it be the beneficiary. You can update any brokerage account, any bank account using those forms.
That's awesome. So you actually reached out to the financial institutions and asked for what forms they use for the funding.
Exactly. So we have all those. They're PDFs. You can just download them right from the site.
Wow, that's really convenient. That's awesome.
So y'all are like a one-stop shop then for everything will and trust related, which is pretty awesome, actually. I like that.
We like it too. Glad you like it.
I would like to thank our sponsor, JRC Insurance Group. JRC works with over 50 top-rated insurance companies to match their clients with the most affordable life insurance options available. They are working harder than anyone to get you the coverage you need and deserve for the price that suits your budget. Call 866-790-6494 or visit jrcinsurancegroup.com for your free, no-obligation quote. Again, call 866-790-6494 or visit jrcinsurancegroup.com for your free, no-obligation quote.
Let me ask you a question from let's bring in my my millennial perspective here, right? So I'm 29 and, thinking about wills, trust, and, all these things dealing with death, because, like we mentioned earlier, nobody really wants to talk about it, but it is something that we all should think about and it should all be really important to us. So how, I guess I'm at the point now where I guess I could go ahead, I should, based on what you said so far, I should go ahead and get my will set up, get a trust set up. What advice do you have for other younger folks in terms of wanting to get this process started and not really letting the barriers of, or let's say youth thinking in that mindset stop us from actually getting this process started?
Yeah, I think it's good. That's a perfect question. So let me ask you, in your case, are you in a relationship?
Yes, right now I am.
Are you married?
Nope.
Okay. Do you have any kids?
Nope. Just me, myself, and I.
Yeah, but you're in a relationship with someone. And so here's the deal. If you are in that relationship, maybe you've been in it for a while and you actually care at all about taking care of that person just in case anything happens. If you share a lease together, if you have a life together, if you depend on one another, actually that person who you're not married to in your 20s is actually more vulnerable. It's, in my opinion, the second most vulnerable group. And the group that needs to actually do their wills now. Because if anything happens to you, that significant other that you've been together for 5 years, just haven't gotten around to getting married, they get nothing. They have no rights. They have no rights to information. They can't make decisions. They have no rights to money. You may be completely estranged from your family, but your parents in most states are the ones who are going to receive your estate. And so in this case, you are literally doing the fundamental thing that is going to take care of that person and just actually show them that you love them in the very, unlikely occurrence that something happens. The only one who's more vulnerable than that is like a single parent where there's really like you have sole custody, like you are the parent. Like that kid needs a guardianship plan and needs to have things in place. For my opinion, the second most vulnerable person is that unmarried partner of yours or anyone's. And so you need to do this. Now, we know relationships don't always work out. You could be together for a few years and then you're not. And tomorrow is a little, might feel a little too direct, but you can delete someone or you can downgrade them or you can take them from being a girlfriend to being a fiance to being a wife.
Oh, wow.
You can give them an inheritance. It doesn't have to be everything. You can do all sorts of things. If they have a kid, you can treat them like a kid and they would inherit, or you cannot. We're not built for the Leave It to Beaver family. We're for every family, whether or not you get married or not, whether you're, straight, gay, or other, like we meet all of those needs.
So y'all really are the one-stop shop. Y'all have everything. I keep saying one-stop shop, like y'all are going to adopt that as part of your like mission statement or tagline. So if you do, just give me credit, because if not, I'll just refer back to this episode and,
That might be a crowded space for that term. It might belong to, somewhere between Walmart and 7-Eleven, but I appreciate that.
Very true. Very true.
Well, I love what you're doing. I think, with for a will for free, there's no excuse. Everybody should go out and take advantage of that opportunity to get a will in place. Really for $39, I think everybody should go out and set up a trust as well. If you've ever dealt with probate, I've had clients pass away and gone through probate, and I've seen how the family sometimes reacts. And, I just think that it's important to avoid that process. So I think for that price, it makes sense. Everybody should have a will, or definitely have a will, but should also have a trust. Even you, John, I think you should go out and you should download the app and make sure you have a trust in place.
I'm doing that right now as we speak.
Awesome. And also, I just want to spend a couple minutes talking about, Dave. One thing, we were referred to you by one of your coworkers. And, one thing that I think is really cool about your company is not only are you're just giving away a lot of value added things to people, but I mean, you really have an amazing company. Everybody that has worked for you that I've spoken with just speaks how highly and how wonderful it is to work for you and how empowering your workforce is for women and everything. So just from a business perspective, do you have any advice for people that are maybe running businesses and want to kind of create an environment like that? Do you have any, tips or advice for people on creating a great work environment?
Well, I think that everything starts with intention, right? So what are you intending to build? And, I've done this a few times. So I built a company that we sold to Amazon, and then I built a company that we sold to Deloitte, which is a massive consulting firm. And so this is my third go. And when I set out, one of the first things I did was really set like, well, what do I want to do? How do I want to work? Who do I want to work with? And what would those cultural components be? And then I added people who I trusted, who I'd either known for quite a while or with whom I was connected. And you build that culture person by person. Now, you're also looking for excellence. And so you add people because of their excellence. But then when you notice that they're culturally out of line, whether they're bringing negativity or a political feel or whatever it is, you can try and coach them through that. But, very quickly, you're just going to have to remove people. And we've removed a few people purely for cultural reasons. And part of that, it's not trimming fat, you're trimming meat. But you have to stay committed to that because you get too far down that path and you're not going to and you're not going to have the culture that you want. Now, on your question about women, it's really interesting as a technology company, especially building native apps for iOS and Android. It's actually very hard for us as startups to recruit top tier, like senior female talent, just because there's a shortage of it and there's a high demand. And so we, for instance, we were very close to getting amazing iOS developer who was coming out of Starbucks. And, she's like, I want to work here. Like, I know you can't match my offer from Google, but, just tell me what you can do. And I'm like, cool. Tell me what your offer is. Like, it's about $450,000 cash a year. And I looked at her and I said, you're going to have to take that offer. That's a really good offer. There's no way a startup's going to reach that. So what we've done, though, have taken the opportunity, because we're building an app. The majority of our users are women in their 30s, and so we've done everything we can. So we have 2 of our 8 software developers are women. We're adding now a 9th member to the team, who's a woman. Of course, our sole marketer, Tori, who you mentioned, is there. So out of 13 of us, 4 of us are women. It's not a 50-50 ratio or greater. I was almost 70% female in my last company, which creates an amazing culture when you do it. It's a little hard as a startup. I hope we can continue to be better with that, one hire at a time. And I know it sounds like I'm playing, the world's tiniest violin, but it is a real issue for startups. And so you have to really work at it hard, make sure that you have the space that's inviting, the topics that's interesting, and then the culture that's going to attract the female talent. Because honestly, if you don't have that diversity and you're just like a bunch of guys sitting around trying to figure out what to do, and you don't have that other perspective, whether it's a design, a decision, a messaging, an amount of empathy, you are not going to be successful.
Yeah,
that is true in all industries for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I really love what you're doing. I love how you're running the company. I love how you're giving value and adding value to people and helping people, and actually doing something that's real and meaningful for everybody. So I really love it. So I hope everybody takes an opportunity to download the app. We'll put links in the show notes. You can go on there. Definitely go on there and get your wills in place, everybody. Really taking advantage to, get one of those trusts, because they're really giving it away for that price. So make sure you do that and check out the app. I think you'll be thrilled, and check out the company, because it's a great company that's doing great things. So I want to thank you for joining us tonight, Dave.
Thanks so much for having me on. And I really appreciate your passion about the problem that we're trying to solve. It's super important, and it's easy to just let it go and think, maybe I'll do that someday. So thank you so much for your passion around that. And John, looking forward, let us know when you get your will and trust done.
Definitely will.
I would like to thank our sponsor, JRC Insurance Group. JRC works with over 50 top-rated insurance companies to match their clients with the most affordable life insurance options available. They are working harder than anyone to get you the coverage you need and deserve for the price that suits your budget. Call 866-790-6494 or visit jrcinsurancegroup.com for your free, no-obligation quote. Again, call 866-790-6494 or visit jrcinsurancegroup.com for your free, no-obligation quote. We would like to thank Dave Hanley for being on the show this week. All the links and information will be in the show notes. Please visit us at twomoneyguys.com and listen to the podcast wherever great podcasts are heard.